Guys, fasten your seatbelts for this one. This flight is a madness. A plane carrying 153 Palestinians recently landed in South Africa. This story gave me goosebumps, and I'll explain why. I'll keep it brief, but I may have to do a more in-depth video on the tube, as it were. This story might be the one that sort of pushes me beyond into a sort of Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens style setup. Anyway, for the TikTok and the brief video, let's get into it. It was a chartered flight, meaning privately arranged. And South Africa, where the plane landed, was not expecting this plane to be there. Cyril Ramaphosa, the South African president, is on video saying he was unaware of the flight. The state did not have any details beforehand. He was only informed by his home minister once the plane had landed that there's 153 Palestinians on board that didn't have documentation. They sort of just appeared out of nowhere. Where they are expected to go, nobody knows. The exit stamps that Israel puts on anyone who's booted out of historic Palestine, what is currently called Israel, they didn't have exit stamps. They left Gaza with pretty much nothing except the clothes on their back and whatever luggage they can manage. The Palestinians, the South African president went on to say, were not refused entry. After 12 hours of sitting on the plane, being screened, being interviewed, they were allowed to enter South Africa because, as the South African president said, to turn them back, potentially send them back to Gaza, would be out of the question. This is a war-torn, besieged segment of Palestinian territory that has gone through unspeakable horrors in the last 2 years, and South Africa wasn't going to send them back. Here's where things get mental, though. Honestly, I promise you, I'm not even exaggerating. I've got a headache just thinking about the ramifications, how deep this goes, and I won't get into it now. I'm not going investigative journalist on you guys here. I'm just going to report to you the news and give a very brief analysis. These Palestinians from Gaza reportedly were offered by a mysterious aid organization, shadowed in secrecy and obscured in their publicly available information, known as Majd Europe. They were offering, essentially, Palestinians, they were offering them exit packages. $1,000 for babies, $5,000 for adults. Many paid this money out of sheer desperation, and then they were put on this plane and sent to Kenya, where there was a stopover, and then the plane took off again and then landed in South Africa. No documentation, no confirmation, no agreement between the states, nothing, nada. It's a chartered flight, meaning it's private, right? It's privately organized. It's not like Pegasus Airlines or wherever. You can just book a flight and, pull up to Heathrow and no, it's not public. And now there's international outcry, confusion, fear, worry by so many people. Why? Well, because this seems like a more advanced version of smuggling people into the back of a truck, taking them, taking thousands of dollars from them and then taking them in their however many hundreds, thousands, and chucking them into Europe. We've seen, border control. There's UK border force, TV shows here in the UK where they showed like police officers basically screening trucks and then going and seeing that whole families sometimes were hiding at the back of the trucks, desperate for a new life. It sounds similar to those manipulative individuals that take money in the thousands of dollars, thousands of pounds or euros in some cases, and put people on dinghies, boats that cross the English Channel from France, head to the UK, which is why a lot of the reform supporters now are like, stop the boats, stop the boats. It's similar. Or taking, one more example, South Americans desperate for a better life, once again, asking them to pay thousands to smugglers and then them being smuggled into the United States. Now, imagine that, but being done by the Israeli state, not just random smugglers. The whole government is organizing that. Imagine, I'm not saying that's the facts on the ground. I'm not saying it's not the facts on the ground either, or that's the mad thing. Rights groups have labeled Majd Europe, for example, the organization that was identified as running the South African 153, this group of Palestinians. Majd Europe have been labeled as operating human trafficking, operating people smuggling. This is already making headlines now. This is the classification that aid organizations in some cases are designating this group with. Not a humanitarian organization, certainly. And when you look at the supposed aid organization which conducted this flight, when you look at Majd, the details become horrifying, to be honest. I get this sick feeling in my stomach that, honestly, I got when I was watching Schindler's List about how in 1930s, 1940s, just before the war, Second World War ended, Jews were being transported by train like cattle to Auschwitz, Birkenau, and the other death camps. Honestly, right now I'm talking, I'm getting goosebumps. It really feels like that. The website says Al-Majd, the group that organized this flight, their website says they've arranged over 5,000 flights like this. They say they've been operating for 20 years. But as investigative journalism has been conducted and confirmed, the website was only registered this year, 2025. The staff of Al-Majd, reports have mentioned, are AI-generated images of people on their website. They're not real people. They're not real people. And the company claims to operate from Jerusalem, with the office also in Berlin, capital of Germany. But it's not got any registered charity code, no registered charity identification in Germany or in Israel. The analysis suggests this is a fake company. It's a front, right? It's like the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, but even more mysterious. The GHF. I've made videos on them. They were an aid organization that said to Palestinians during the 2 years, come, here's the aid. Right next to them, an Israeli military camp. And they'll just gun down civilians who they called to come get aid. What? So this company, Al-Majd, if it is a front, it very well could be a front for a much darker objective that is the objective of the Israeli state. That's what the analysis shows. What could the objective be? It could be the gentle, covert, quiet, ethnic cleansing, removal of Palestinians from their land. After 2 years of horror in Gaza, it's understandable. Many families will jump at such opportunities, such options, if they're given to them. Given the chance to flee Gaza by going into Israel and then being put on a plane to a new future, wherever, may be tempting. Can you imagine the broken families that might be getting, hypothetically, I don't know how it would work, but can you imagine them getting a WhatsApp message, or a leaflet that says, start a new life, right? You've had enough. You've lost family members in the dozens. A dozen is 12, by the way. Start a new life. And here's your ticket out. They might be like, bro, I love my land, and this is mine, this land. But I have to think about the kids I still have left. I have to give them a chance. And some desperate families will take those chances. Now, Israel, are they cooperating if it's not just straight up their own initiative? Of course. Because they allowed people from Gaza to be taken into Israel. They allowed a plane in Israel to fly off with those people. You think the Israeli state don't know about what's going on there? Palestinians from Gaza were allowed into Israel to take the flights out, including the South African 153, which is what we're talking about here. So the Israeli state is now potentially resorting to sending desperate groups of Palestinians to where? Judging from what's publicly available, the answer is anywhere. Anywhere but historic Palestine. Anywhere but the land we were promised. The Israeli state may not care where the Palestinians are flung, right? As long as they're not here, right? 2 years of war on Gaza, or whatever you want to describe it as, resorting to attacking the civilians. Analytically speaking, the Israeli state resorted to attacking Palestinian civilians after failing, shockingly, to be able to fight the resistance, and after failing to beat the resistance forces in the territory of Gaza. They went for civilians, and now they're pulling out new initiatives. Time will tell how things turn out, and I'll be here to report to you the news and the analysis. unbiased, and without the Western spin. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Mahfouz.